Admiral Zexathera's 4 eyes remained fixed on the holographic display as the final simulation concluded. The crimson glow of defeat indicators painted her chitinous features in ominous light. Around the war chamber, the finest military minds of the hegemony sat in stunned silence. "Run it again," she commanded, her mandibles clicking with frustration. "Admiral," whispered her aide, Lieutenant Vorn, "this is the 47th simulation. The result has been consistent." The display flickered to life once more, showing the tactical overview of Earth's military history. What had begun as routine intelligence gathering for the upcoming invasion had become something far more disturbing. The humans, those soft pink creatures from the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, had somehow managed to achieve the impossible in every scenario. Dr. Kellix, the hegemony's chief xenobiologist, stepped forward. Her translator crackled as she spoke. "The problem isn't their technology, Admiral. We outclass them in every conceivable way. Our shields are stronger, our weapons more precise, our ships faster." "Then explain this." Zexathera gestured at the display showing humanity's defeat of the simulation's hegemony forces for the 47th consecutive time. The elderly scientist's tentacles writhed nervously. "It's their tactical doctrine. They fight differently than any civilized species should." The War Council had spent months studying human conflicts, analyzing everything from their ancient battles to their most recent skirmishes. Initially, the data seemed promising. Humans were fragile, short-lived, and possessed technology, centuries behind the hegemony's capabilities. Victory should have been assured. But the simulations told a different story. "Show them the Thermopylae analysis," Dr. Kellix instructed her assistant. The hologram shifted to display an ancient human battle, 300 warriors holding a narrow pass against overwhelming odds. The council watched as the humans, facing certain death, chose to fight to the last rather than surrender. "This is not an isolated incident," Kellix explained. "Human history is replete with such examples. Masada, where they chose mass suicide over capitulation. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where civilians fought trained soldiers with improvised weapons. Stalingrad, where they turned every building into a fortress." Commander Thrix, the hegemony's top strategist, interjected. "But surely their modern military has evolved beyond such crude tactics." The display changed again, showing more recent human conflicts. Asymmetric warfare in jungles and deserts where technologically superior forces were worn down by guerrilla tactics. Urban combat where every civilian building became a potential ambush point. "They call it total war," Kellix continued. "When pressed, humans don't distinguish between military and civilian targets. Not because they're cruel, but because they don't acknowledge the concept of non-combatants when their survival is threatened. Every human becomes a potential soldier." Admiral Zexathera's claws drummed against the command table. "We've conquered 47 worlds. Each species eventually saw reason and surrendered when faced with superior firepower." "Yes, but notice the pattern." Dr. Kellix pulled up comparative data. "The Altarians surrendered when we destroyed their capital fleet. The Nexus Collective capitulated after we demonstrated our planet-killing capabilities on their moon. The Corvan Empire negotiated terms when their homeworld was threatened." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the chamber. "Humans don't appear to possess this survival instinct. Our psychological warfare specialists have analyzed their response patterns. When threatened with extinction, rather than seeking terms, they become exponentially more dangerous." The simulation cycled through various invasion scenarios. In each one, initial human losses were catastrophic. Their ships were destroyed, their cities bombarded, their governments toppled. But instead of surrendering, the survivors simply changed tactics. "Watch this." Kellix highlighted a particularly disturbing scenario. Day 1. We destroy 90% of their military infrastructure. Day 30. The remaining 10% has somehow multiplied into guerrilla cells operating from asteroid belts, using civilian vessels retrofitted with weapons. The display showed human refugees loading construction equipment with explosives, turning cargo haulers into suicide bombers, converting mining operations into weapon manufacturing facilities. "They have a saying," the xenobiologist noted grimly. "If you can't beat them with superior tactics, beat them with superior firepower. If you can't beat them with superior firepower, beat them with superior numbers. If you can't beat them with superior numbers, make the cost of victory so high that it becomes indistinguishable from defeat." Commander Thrix leaned forward. Surely they would eventually run out of resources. That's what we thought too, Kellex replied. But observe Scenario 23, where we maintained a siege for 10 Earth years. The hologram showed human settlements that had gone underground, literally. Entire cities carved into asteroids and planetoids, powered by captured hegemony equipment. Children born in tunnels were trained as soldiers before they could walk. The humans had transformed their entire species into a military force. In this scenario, after a decade of siege, human forces actually became stronger. They had reverse-engineered our technology, adapted our strategies, and most concerning, they had begun converting captured hegemony soldiers to their cause. A collective shudder ran through the War Council. The idea of their own forces defecting was unthinkable. How, Admiral Zexathera demanded. Ideology, Kellex responded simply. Humans fight for concepts we can barely comprehend. Freedom, self-determination, the right to exist on their own terms. These aren't negotiable positions, they're existential imperatives. The final simulation played out on the display. It showed the ultimate scenario: complete human defeat, their homeworld destroyed, their population reduced to scattered refugees. But even then, the survivors continued fighting, passing their resistance down through generations, treating the conflict not as a war, but as a permanent state of existence. In every simulation, even total victory results in perpetual insurgency, Dr. Kellex concluded. The humans don't just fight wars, they become the war. Victory against them isn't a conquest. It's an eternal commitment to suppressing the most stubborn force in the galaxy. Admiral Zexathera stared at the holographic Earth spinning slowly in the display. Such a small, insignificant world. But the simulations had taught them something crucial about the species that called it home. Cancel the invasion, she ordered quietly. Admiral? Lieutenant Vorn's voice carried his confusion. Signal the fleet command. We're redirecting to the Kepler sector instead. Mark the Sol system as indefinitely postponed. As the War Council filed out, Admiral Zexathera remained behind, studying the blue-green planet on the display. 47 civilizations had fallen to the hegemony's might, but the 48th had taught them something no previous species had managed to convey. Some victories, she realized, were simply too expensive to achieve. The humans could keep their little planet. The hegemony had an entire galaxy to conquer, and some battles the simulations had proven were better left unfought.